Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Science of B2B. My name is Kerry Cunningham, and I head up Sixth Sense Research and Thought Leadership, and I'm a former Serious Decisions and Forrester analyst. All right, so we're going to get right into this today. Today's theme is, well, there's two choices. One is water, water everywhere and not a drop to drink, or a line from a U2 song. I think it was the song So Cruel, where Bono sings, "You gave me everything I ever wanted. That wasn't what I wanted." You pick at the end of the episode. In any case, what this is about is buyers having information overload and the impact that information overload has on the length of a buying cycle. And this, I think, is the best illustration of how and why buying is so hard and why marketers and sellers both have to be dedicated to making the buying process easier, enabling buyers. And I'll give some recommendations about that toward the end. All right, so here's the story from the data. The average buying team that we studied had 10 people on it. That average buying team of 10 was evaluating 4 vendors, and that valuation process, that whole buying process, took 11 months. What we found is that if a buying team was evaluating 5 vendors instead of 4, that buying team grew, and each member of that buying team had to do more work. And that really impacted the length of the buying cycle. So you've got an average buying cycle of 11 months. You add 1 vendor. That has 3 effects. 1 direct effect and 2 indirect effects. The direct effect is that you add 10 days to the buying process immediately with nothing else happening. That may not sound like a lot, and it's not. That's the direct effect. But we used stats to figure out that there were 2 indirect effects that are really important. When you add 1 vendor to the process, you cause the buying team, or when the buying team adds, as in they cause themselves, to add 2 people to the buying team. So in order to account for that extra work that has to be done, a buying team looking at 5 vendors is on average going to have 12 members, not 10. I think we all know what happens when you have more people on a decision-making committee. That committee takes longer to make their decision. And in fact, that's what we saw. A 5-vendor evaluation with 12 members of the buying team takes 21 additional days on top of what it would have been otherwise. So now you've got the 10 direct days and the 21 indirect days, and you've got 31 days added to the buying cycle. There's one other indirect effect. When a buying team evaluates 5 instead of 4 vendors, they also each have to do more work. Think about it. If you've got more vendors, I've got more information I've got to go collect and collate and compare, figure out how to understand whether they're talking about the same things. All of that just gets more complicated. So buyers are, instead of having 4,300 total interactions, if they're looking at 4 vendors, that number goes up to 8,000. 8,000 interactions because I've added 1 vendor. So 4,000 additional interactions essentially because I've added 1 vendor to the list. That drives the timeline out another 30 days. So now we've added 2 months. Instead of an 11-month buying cycle for 4 vendors, it's a 13-month buying cycle for 5 vendors. Now, the really, really good news is that if your prospect's only evaluating 3 vendors, it works the same way the other direction. So if you're evaluating just 3 vendors, that buying process takes, on average, just 9 months. And we have a whole sector that matched that. So we looked at the manufacturing sector and their responses. On average, they only evaluated 3 vendors. Their buying processes only took 9 months. So this is really solid. The stats on this are really, really solid. Adding vendors adds a lot of time. That tells you that what's happening is it's very difficult for buyers to figure out what to buy, to compare all of the vendors. So I want to leave a couple of suggestions here. 1, of course, you're going to differentiate yourself with your solutions and what you do and how you do it, and how you provide service and those kinds of things. Absolutely differentiate yourselves that way. But if there are industry standard terms that your competitors use, terms that analysts in your space use or consultants in your space use, journalists in your space use to describe the kinds of things you do, use those terms, please. That will help your buyers understand what you do and how you compare to the rest of the field. That'll help your buyers understand how you really do differentiate, not just in how you talk about things, but in what you actually do. Right? So I strongly recommend looking for ways where you use language that's pretty unique to the way that you do things, and try stripping that away. Try seeing if you can describe what you do differently, but using the same kind of language that the rest of your industry does. Your buyers will appreciate it. They'll be more likely to understand what you do and therefore make their decisions in less time. Now, also, if you have buyer guides or if you don't, create them and help your buyers understand not only what they should be evaluating, but if you're in a crowded space with lots of vendors, then help them understand which are the vendors that they should be looking at and which they don't need to bother with. There may be 2 or 3 vendors they don't need to bother with and a bunch that they really should be evaluating. Help them understand that. All right, so next time we're going to start diving into the intent series. There are a lot of mislies and half-truths about intent. We're going to dig into it and understand it. This is incredibly important coming up, so I hope you'll tune into the science of B2B with that. And remember that we've got our buyer experience report and a buyer identification report available for you. We also have a BDR benchmark that's available, so please check those out on our website, sixthsense.com/research, and you can get to all the good stuff that we have. All right, thanks everybody.